Come back downstairs for questions. Raise your hand. We'll go with Jim, this young lady right here, and Dave.
Jim Motor Trail Observer. Paul, earlier you said that you've noticed lately that the fastest car has not always been winning lately. Do you see that? Is that just a coincidence, or do you see more of that taking place as perhaps more teams are taking gambles in order to do what you guys are trying to do, which is get in the chase, not necessarily through the top 10 in points?
Yeah, I mean, it might be a little both, guys taking gambles or whatnot, but like Brad said, everything has to be perfect to win one of these races. So when I say the fastest car doesn't always win, I mean, you can have the fastest car, but if you don't have good pit strategy or you don't keep yourself out of trouble or put yourself in situations, it really doesn't matter. So what I've seen is if you can put yourself in the top 10, you give yourself a chance at least. And we feel like that's what we did today. And I think our car was maybe a little better than what it showed. I mean, we did put ourselves in the top 10, but I think, if we could have been up, the farther we got up, the faster we got. And it's just so hard with these cars, when you're back there in traffic to see what speed they really have. Everybody just fights the same thing.
Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry. Go ahead, ma'am.
Oh, congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Cindy Zimmerman with DomesticFuel.com. And we had about, well over 1,000 ethanol producers and corn growers here, and American Ethanol was in spotlight. And I wanted to get the perspective from each of you about using a 15% ethanol blend in terms of strategy, in terms of fuel efficiency, and in terms of using a domestically produced fuel in such an American event like NASCAR.
Well, I think you have to applaud NASCAR and the efforts they have on the Green Initiative. I know there's some fancy word for it. I don't know what it is, the NASCAR Green Initiative. Isn't it called something?
Green Initiative.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, that program. Yeah. But I thought it had some really cool name. You guys need to work on a really cool slogan. But I think you got to applaud them for pulling that rope and working really hard on that. And it's just an added benefit that it's something that comes from America. I guess I didn't even know that. I guess I should have known that, but that's really cool.
Yeah, it really hasn't changed as far as the performance side. It hasn't changed a whole lot. The fuel mileage has changed a little bit, but it's the same for everybody. So it seemed to work out, be pretty good fuel for us today. So we're just excited that we can be part of it.
I think if we look at oil and the availability of fuels as we go forward, the opportunity to combine petroleum products, with this product, ethanol, I think is going in the right direction. And NASCAR has been committed, many years ago to look at these opportunities. And we spent a lot of time on our dynamometers, getting the engines back to the power. But at this point, the reliability is there, the fuel mileage is there, and you can see the performance. So I think it's a win-win for everyone.
We'll go to Dave right here and then back to Dustin.
Yeah, guys, Dave Robin with NASCAR.com. For Brad and Roger first, can you quantify the improvement in this team from 2010 to 2011, and then for all three, from February to now, and how much better can you get?
Well, it's interesting. You grade your team probably every week, and I think that you've got to be committed to stay on track. And I think one of the things that we've done with Brad and Paul, and obviously with Kurt and Steve, we said, look, we're going to stay on track here. I think it's so easy to get go in a different direction. You see something another team's doing, and you have to do it and back and forth, and we've pretty much stayed together. And I think the integrity and the transparency that Paul talked about, with the 22 cars really paid off, and the cars are better. The drivers, obviously, the more that Brad runs, in this series, he's going to get better. You can see it as restarts, the way he's coming in the pits here. I watched it today. The pit crews, this pit crew today, when you look at it, we started 25th. And every stop we moved up. So I heard him say on the radio one time, he says, a lot easier to pass in the pits than it is on the racetrack, and you could see that. So I think it's working in a number of areas. The engines, we've had good power. We need more, and we need better handling. But these guys are testing every single week. It's one of the things that I I'm always concerned about with NASCAR is that we can't test at the tracks that we race on, so we spend all this money to go to other tracks, and we'd have a much better chance, I think a better show, if we could test at the track. So that's one of the things that if you're a team trying to get to the front, it's so difficult. You got to use simulation, and that doesn't really give you, all the factors that you have on a day where the temperature's going up, you got clouds coming over corrected. But overall, I think it's just a lot of hard work. We've got 350 people that are committed to these two guys and these two teams, and Paul has brought a commitment to probably that we've never had, in detail, and he just won't let us up. And he got a payoff today for doing that.
Me? Oh, all right. I forgot what the question was. I was listening to him speak. I was motivated. That was a good speech, by the way. That was really good. But we're getting somewhere. It's going to take time. I think the biggest thing that everybody seems to overlook in this deal is you look at the average driver age, and some of you guys have heard me speak about this, some of you haven't, and we saw about 5 to 10 years ago a complete reset in the driver pool. And I think you should really look at that. I think you turn on a race from 10 years ago and look at who was on track, who was driving. And you're only going to find, less than 15 of those drivers on there. And those are drivers that were young at that time. They were the Jeff Gordons. They were the, whoever you called young at that time. And so I think what you're seeing is you're seeing a very loaded field of youth, talent, experience. And to come in as a driver, like I have myself over the last year or two, is a uphill climb. It's a real uphill climb with the new car coming in, the lack of testing, the fact that there's so many good drivers out there right now. So it's a huge uphill climb to catch them, and then let alone beat them. So for any driver the measuring stick, what I'm trying to say is the measuring stick of success for a new driver like myself or a Joey Logano or a Trevor Bayne, I think is different than what it's ever been. And it's going to take, I told someone the other day that the true determining factor of our success from a timeline perspective for me at Penske Racing really isn't, in my eyes, even this year. I'm sure that sponsors want it to be right now, but the measuring stick for success of drivers before was 1 to 2 years. The measuring stick of success for new drivers now, I think, is more like 3 to 5 years because of that. It's going to take you longer to figure out these racetracks, to figure out these cars. So, I'm excited to see where we're going to be over the next year or two. I've seen a lot of progress in our team, and I'm really, really encouraged. But we have more room to continue to progress. I have a lot of room to continue to progress, and I think that we can continue to do that. And even on an added note of that, I think people are going to look 10, 15, 20 years from now and look at Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus and say that they were the team of maybe the best team ever, and it took them 5 years to win their first championship. So, I think you got to put all those things in perspective and realize how far we've come just in 2 years here at Penske Racing. Paul and I, how far we still have to go, but we've come a long ways. We have a ways to go. I'm proud of where we're at, and we're going to keep working and moving forward.
Okay, we'll go right over here.
Brad Fanning, KCTV. And maybe all three of you guys can answer this for me. I don't have this in front of me, but I believe the farthest back anybody's ever come to win a race here at Kansas Speedway was 21st, and today 3 of the top 4 were I think Jeff Gordon was 22nd. He finished 4th. Now, is that because of the races in June? Is it the weather or coincidence, or what do you think the reason is?
Well, the qualifying platform for this weekend really, really put a jumbo in everything. With we saw the morning was the quicker place to go out, and the faster cars, didn't run slow enough to get a morning qualifying time. And then we got a lot of sun in the middle of qualifying, which was where we qualified, and I think Dale Jr. and those guys qualified as well. And it played against us, pretty good, and we were lucky to overcome that. And then cloud cover came over at the end of qualifying, and guys started to take back off again. So I think it's more a reflection over what we saw on Friday, which is why Fridays are so important, or Saturday, I should say. It's why qualifying and all that is so important. And, it just qualifying and the way it was set up this week was certainly a large part of that.
Go ahead, Dustin.
Dustin Long, Landmark Newspapers. I have a question for Paul, one for Roger. Paul, as you teeter on this top 20 with the one win and trying to get up higher in points, how might that influence future decisions the rest of the summer, whether to gamble or not, in the sense of getting points or going for the win? And Roger, I know you talked about the improvements that your organization has made and the continual efforts, but certainly I think a lot of people would wonder if there's been more of a jump since Kurt's comments after Richmond. Has there been enough time to have some of those changes be seen and make an impact at this point? Or are we still seeing the changes or things that you guys were doing months ago?
Well, I don't think that anyone making comments publicly or internally are going to turn the team around in 2 or 3 weeks. I think Paul would probably be the best to answer that. I mean, he's seen the meetings. He's listened to what we're trying to do. He's been a great contributor to the things that we're trying to make better. Remember, when you've got 2 drivers and probably 30 cars, that you can't just do things overnight, because we don't run the same car like we do in the IndyCar side. And I think it's progress. It's the crew chief and the driver working together. I think it's the transparency between the 2 teams. We've added more engineering capability this year. I think we're starting to see it now that we didn't have last year. But this is 13 races. Remember, we've got another 13 to go before we get into the chase. So if we're sitting 6 or 7 points out and we're starting to see some momentum here, I think that he's got a great chance to get in. And Kurt's sitting obviously in 6th position now, or 7th, I think.
Yeah, and I honestly, I don't feel like staying out today was a huge gamble. But I think at this point we just want to continue to put fast race cars out there, and I think you put yourself in victory lane, that'll take care of the points, and it kind of all one works with the other. As far as like Brad said, it's probably going to take another win to get that spot. So I think we'll just keep approaching it like we have, and that's trying to make our race cars faster. And when you do that, the results come.
Any more questions? Go ahead, Jim.
Jim Auto Observer. A quick question for Roger. Despite everything that's been said during the course of the season, Kurt remains the only driver, I believe, that has been in the top 10 in points every week. Considering all that, what does that speak for, and the problems and the progress that you guys made, what does that speak for what he's been able to accomplish?
Well, I think when you look at the performance, of the 22 team, you look at the big tracks, we were strong. We got in accidents there. The consistency, I think, of the reliability. And Kurt's a fantastic driver. I don't think that people realize, how good he really is. And we sometimes don't give him the best horse. And I would say to him, if he was sitting here, sometimes he doesn't realize the horse he's on, and he's got to kind of tame it to get it to go where he needs to go. But, it was like today at the beginning of the race, he was concerned about his car. And I think the splitter was hitting the ground, really. And then all of a sudden, the tire pressures come up, and he took off like a shot past the leaders and went on and led most of the laps. So I think it's a learning curve, and I think his confidence now with Brad, being able to show the speed, and Paul working with Steve has made a huge difference. And it's chemistry in every team. And it's not one driver or one crew chief that can make the difference in a big team. I think it's working together. You've seen it at Roush. You've seen it at Hendricks. Certainly seen it at Gibbs.
Okay, gentlemen, congratulations. Great win today for the Penske organization for the number 2 Miller Lite Dodge. Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.